Hello, I'm here to tell you about a method of teaching behavior called shaping. Shaping was first discussed by B.F. Skinner, largely considered the father of behaviorism, in his influential book Science and Human Behavior, though he didn't go into much detail on it. According to Cooper, Heron, and Heward's Applied Behavior Analysis, one of the leading texts in the field of behavior analysis, shaping is a method of teaching a target behavior through differential reinforcement of successive approximations toward that target behavior. Let's break that down a little. Differential reinforcement is a way of increasing one behavior through reinforcement, generally positive, while withholding reinforcement for other behaviors, which is called extinction. Positive reinforcement means that a stimulus is delivered to the organism immediately following the organism's completion of a target behavior, in order to increase the likelihood of the organism engaging in that behavior in the future. For instance, say you gave your dog a treat right after they obeyed a sit command. If your dog is more likely to follow future sit commands, then their behavior was effectively positively reinforced by the delivery of a treat. What are successive approximations? Successive approximations are behaviors that occur in successive order, one after another, that approximate or come close to the next behavior in a chain leading up to the target behavior. If the target behavior is picking up a glass full of water, the first approximation might be looking at the glass. The next approximation might be moving your hand toward it slowly, then touching the glass gently without moving it, then gripping the glass with a firm grip, then lifting the glass slowly while keeping it upright. Be sure to define these approximations clearly in the form you want to see them. For example, in the third approximation, if we just defined the behavior as touching the glass, that could account for any number of behaviors, including pushing the glass off the table. What are the uses of shaping? Shaping can be used to teach a variety of behaviors in many organisms, from mice to humans. It is useful to teach complex behaviors that are not already known to the organism and that the organism is not likely to perform on its own. Shaping is a useful method of teaching behavior, but it does have drawbacks. Before you decide to use shaping to teach a new behavior, be sure that you have the time, patience, and focus for it. Shaping can be a slow process that requires the full attention of the teacher, and for shaping to be effective, every instance of the current target behavior must be reinforced immediately. Now that you have the basic definition of shaping, let's walk through an example of it. In the class Psychology of Learning at the University of Alaska Anchorage, we were given lab rats to train. These rats were expected to press a lever, not a typical behavior for a rat, but following the procedure for shaping that we were taught, it didn't take long before our rats weren't doing much else. I named my helpful little lab buddy Oscar. Before beginning training, there were 3 important things we had to do. First, we had to establish a reinforcer. In shaping, it's important that a reinforcer is delivered immediately when the current target behavior is performed, or else the wrong behavior may be reinforced. This is why clicker training is often used. Clicker training was invented by Karen Pryor in 1999 and has become a very popular method of delivering reinforcers. I recommend reading her book, Click to Win, to learn more about it. But the basic idea is to pair a conditioned stimulus, a click, with an unconditioned stimulus, typically food. You can do this by repeatedly pairing the click with the delivery of a food reinforcer. Deliver a treat or food pellet immediately after making a clicking sound. Do this several times until the organism expects a reinforcer after the click. In Oscar's case, he was given a small food pellet after each click. The second important step before beginning shaping is to define what behaviors we want to see leading up to the target behavior, so that we can quickly move from one approximation to another depending on the learner's performance. According to Cooper, Heron, and Heward's Applied Behavior Analysis, it's important to start with a simple behavior that the learner already knows how to do. It's also vital that you be realistic in your expectations and as specific as possible in defining these behaviors, as discussed previously. In Oscar's case, we started with the simple behavior of facing the lever. The next behavior reinforced was approaching the lever. After that, Oscar would need to touch the lever with one paw, then with both paws. Then he would need to press the lever down with both paws, and finally he would need to press the lever all the way down until the light connected to the lever illuminated. The last step before beginning training is to control the environment in which shaping is taking place. It's important to minimize distractions, both for the learner and the teacher. We did this by using Skinner boxes for the rats. These boxes are named after B.F. Skinner and are designed to eliminate distractions. 3 of the walls were made of metal and 1 made of clear plexiglass for observation purposes. A small, rat-sized lever connected to a light on the outside of the box was installed in one wall, next to a food tray which connected to a funnel on the outside of the box for easy reinforcer delivery. After establishing a reinforcer, defining the behaviors I wanted to see, and taking steps to control the environment, I began training. I had to be sure to reinforce every instance of the current target behavior while the behavior was being emitted. This means that in the first step, every time Oscar was facing the lever, he would receive a click followed by a treat. Once the behavior of facing the lever had been established, I withheld reinforcement for that behavior, and Oscar only received reinforcers when he approached the lever. While you're shaping a behavior, it's important to remember that the learner may not emit the approximate behaviors in the order you expect, or they may learn one approximation faster than another. This is why defining behaviors ahead of time is important. To make shaping effective, the teacher must adapt to the learner's pace and not the other way around. Oscar learned to approach the lever quickly, but it took him longer to learn that touching the lever would earn him a reinforcer. Once he learned that touching the lever would earn him a reinforcer, it was easy to get him to press the lever. And that was it. Oscar became a lever-pressing machine. Shaping isn't always that simple, though. If reinforcement isn't delivered immediately following the current approximation, the teacher may be unintentionally reinforcing a different behavior, which can lead to superstitious behavior by the learner and frustration for both the learner and the teacher. If this happens, it's best to return to a previous approximation that the organism has already mastered and go from there, making sure to reinforce each approximation immediately. Now that you've heard all about our friendly little lab buddies, here's one in action.
Press the lever.
This video was taken by a friend and classmate, Sarah Geneshy, featuring her lab buddy, Ricky Bobby. As you may be able to tell, Ricky Bobby has this lever pressing business down to a T, with one paw on the lever and his face in the food tray. When it comes to treats, these little guys sure don't mess around. Once you have taught a behavior through shaping, it's important to keep reinforcing that behavior if you want the learner to continue emitting that behavior. That covers the basic principles of shaping. Thank you for watching.